Seriously, are you kidding me? There isn't, by my estimation, a better open world candidate than Star Wars. There isn't a fandom who has been used and abused more than the Star Wars fandom. There isn't a fandom that would embrace a game such as this as deeply as the Star Wars fandom would. Yes, the Lord of the Rings lore is out there for open world, and there are a few other options that I think could be billion-dollar games. But the Star Wars open world game, which started development back in 2017, in my estimation, would have been an absolute blockbuster game changer, even in an era where we have probably too many options in terms of open world and low quality options at that. The Star Wars open world MMO, or I don't know if it would have been an MMO, just open world story driven game, would have been one of the best games of all time if done right. Unfortunately, EA owns that license and they've bailed on it for reasons unknown. I can only assume that the reasons they've done this is because they don't think it'll make enough money. I'm not entirely sure. I assume that it's a money thing for them, but who can really know? EA cancels open world Star Wars game update. Electronic Arts has canceled its open world Star Wars game, according to 3 people familiar with the situation at the company. The game announced alongside the shutdown of Visceral Games back in 2017 and had been in development at EA's large office in Vancouver. EA Vancouver is a large studio that mostly handles support for a variety of publishers' titles, including FIFA and Battlefront. Had been working on this open world Star Wars game since October 2017, and when EA closed Visceral Games, until then, Visceral, best known for its popular Dead Space horror series, was developing its own Star Wars game. That project, codenamed Ragtag, was a linear action adventure directed by Uncharted director Amy Hennig. EA Vancouver had been assisting on the project when EA closed Visceral Games on October 17, 2017, and the Vancouver studio took it over. It wouldn't be accurate to say that EA Vancouver's Star Wars was the same game as Ragtag. When EA Vancouver took over, it rebooted this Star Wars project entirely, keeping some of the art assets but transforming it into an open world game. Could you imagine going from planet to planet and interacting with different races of people and encountering different enemies, fighting bad guys all the way, different bad guys on each planet, following the lore of Star Wars? It could have been gigantic. I mean, outside of World of Warcraft, I couldn't see a bigger open world success option out there. Now that project is canceled too. EA did not immediately respond to requests for comment. EA had not shown any of Vancouver's open world Star Wars publicly, but the publisher talked about when it was announced the Visceral's demise. On October 22nd, 2018, EA announced that it had installed executive Samantha Ryan to oversee Motive. Subsequently, Raymond left the company. It might not be clear what EA Vancouver's next new game will be. We've heard it might be a different Star Wars project. Respawn, the LA-based studio responsible for Titanfall, is also making a Star Wars game called Jedi Fallen Order. That game is currently scheduled for fall of 2019, later this year. There was a late-night update to this. Since the publication of this article, I've talked to several people more familiar with EA Vancouver's now canceled open-world Star Wars game. This project was codenamed Orca. It was in very early development, but would involve playing as a scoundrel or a bounty hunter that could explore various open-world planets and work with different factions across the Star Wars universe. Come on! Why would you cancel this? It would be $1 billion software franchise. I don't understand. Is it because you can't play it on mobile? When EA's top decision makers looked at their roadmap for the next few years, they decided that they needed something earlier than the planned release date for Orca. So you just canceled it? You're like, well, we can't release a title soon enough, so scrap it. We can't poop out another mediocre game quick enough, so let's cancel something that could actually be amazing. According to 2 people familiar with the project, so they canceled Orca in favor of a smaller Star Wars project that is now aimed for much sooner. Yeah, probably a mobile app. Likely late 2020, which also happens to be around the time that I've heard the next-gen consoles will launch. Might be a bit earlier, might be a bit later. From what I've heard, next-gen plans are still definitely in flux. To EA's credit, those people said the publisher did not lay anyone off as part of this transition. This news comes at a time of cost-cutting across the industry, and major publishers, including both EA and Activision, some of the studio also hope that Orca might be restarted after this new project is finished. We're supposed to wait 5 years for that? EA reportedly canceled its story-driven Star Wars game, a disappointing end for a once hopeful narrative Star Wars game. Are you kidding me? EA has finally given the axe to its story-driven, single-player focused Star Wars game. What about Rockstar? Could Rockstar do it? I don't know. Is there anyone out there that could pick this up and not screw it over? Listen, Rockstar. Listen. Please listen to me, Rockstar. I think you could do this. I think even in your aging engine that you use for Red Dead Redemption 2 and Grand Theft Auto 5, you could probably use it for this. You would make billions in an online version of this. Deliver us an amazing first person or one player, single player experience, story driven, have an online component that goes with it, and you will make billions. I'm sure of it if you do it right. The game was once in development under the now shuttered EA studio, and Visceral Games had been in the works for years, most recently under the leadership of Uncharted director Amy. In June, Henning revealed she had left EA to form her own studio. So she left, bailing on the project, goes up in the air, goes away. EA Star Wars game has been canceled. It appears EA Vancouver's Star Wars game has gone the way of Alderaan. It canceled its upcoming open world Star Wars video game. This is just about money. This is just about money. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind that this is just about money. They're like, well, we can't give the shareholders a new release fast enough to push the bottom line, so we're going to shorten the development cycle. We're going to rob the fans of an amazing title, a life change, an industry stand up and take notice possibility title if done right. Now, EA, I'm not confident they could have done it, but EA possesses the Star Wars license, and they keep screwing it up. Disney, can you take it back? Can you give it to a different studio? Or do you only care about money? Well, I guess the fact that you claimed a YouTuber's fan film yesterday for the money probably is the answer that we all expected. And that's exactly the freaking problem with it. Companies like EA greedily relying on Ultimate Teams in games like Madden football or NHL hockey. I used to love these games. I used to buy them every single year. But now they've been reduced to nothing more but roster updates, a tiny upgrade, and more gambling. These companies, AAA publishers, are relying on abusing customers' addictive personalities and making the game pay to win. Okay? This is a part of Madden now. This is a part of NHL. These sports games are all dead to me, and they all were born in EA. So there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that EA is looking at this open world saying, man, it would be an amazing game, but World of Warcraft isn't doing so good anymore. And I don't know if we could probably make several $100 million, but could we make billions? Our investors need billions. Otherwise, we can't produce the game. So instead, we're just going to crap out some half-baked abomination of the Star Wars license like they've been doing for years, disrespecting the fandom, disrespecting the license, disrespecting the canon, and just find that quick buck. Make that quick buck. Make it mobile so you can publish it in the Chinese market. Because all these companies care about is making money. They used to care about making great games. Maybe maybe in their infancy, maybe 15, 20 years ago when EA was just starting out, they gave a crap about making a good game. But those days are long gone. They don't serve gamers anymore. They serve investors. They serve their shareholders. All the while, companies like Activision giving out $15 million bonuses to their executives and telling us that we have to pay $1 for a couple of pixels on a reticle. Absolutely disgusting. Fuck.